Let's be honest up front. This one ends on a dark note. I'm not trying to stir up cheap intrigue. It's more of a thought experiment. So if you're easily affected or simply don't want to kill your mood, just close the video. Or at least don't take it too seriously. As the writer H.P. Lovecraft once put it, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. This video is about that kind of fear. Let's start with a model. Imagine, we're trying to colonize the galaxy using only the technology we have right now. Ships travel at about 30 kilometers per second, roughly what our current spacecraft can do. After a colony touches down, we give it 100,000 years just to build and launch the next ship. The farthest any ship can go is 10 light years, and that trip alone, it takes 300,000 years. Now, here's the surprising part. Even with these ultra-conservative numbers, you could fill most of the galaxy. A place so vast that light needs 100,000 years just to get from one end to the other. In under a billion years. For a galaxy this size, that's remarkably fast. But the thought experiment can get even less forgiving. By the time dinosaurs had been living on Earth for over 100 million years, consider this. If somewhere across the galaxy there was a civilization capable of interstellar travel, even at speeds 1,000 times slower than light, they would have already reached every corner of the Milky Way. Many researchers say the actual spread time could be under 50 million years. So, any civilization that emerged just a tiny fraction of the universe's age before us could, by now, be everywhere. Go outside tonight, look at the stars. What do you see? Even if we don't see aliens right now, that doesn't mean they never came by in the past. The Paleocontact hypothesis holds that extraterrestrials would have seemed like gods to our ancestors. And such an event, it should have left its mark in mythology. Carl Sagan referenced Sumerian legends, accounts of strange beings who instructed people in the sciences and crafts. And in fact, the transformation of Sumerian culture from barbarism to cities and irrigation, it appears almost like a sudden jump. Still, modern science doesn't take this idea seriously. No solid evidence this has ever been found. But the main case for extraterrestrial life isn't just the enormous number of stars, or how common certain elements are. For me, the strongest piece of evidence is Earth's age, 4.5 billion years. Life on Earth goes back around 4.1 billion years, meaning it appeared almost as soon as conditions made it possible. We can talk endlessly about how unlikely abiogenesis is, but on this planet, it happened in the blink of an eye. Clearly, something doesn't fit. There's a pattern here. Every time we've believed we're unique, history has proven us wrong. Geocentrism, then the sun at the center, and so on. But what drives colonization and makes a civilization immortal? We're on the edge of settling other worlds. Sure, it's costly and dangerous, but consider this. The Apollo program cost about $150 billion, adjusted to today. That's the equivalent of 112 massive cruise ships. Meanwhile, the asteroid Psyche, out past Mars, it contains enough iron, nickel, and gold to be worth an estimated $10 quadrillion. Ultimately, the real push won't come from scientific curiosity, it'll come from profit. Once the price of spaceflight drops, the true wave of colonization begins. Think about how humans once spread across the globe, venturing across oceans on little more than rafts. When a civilization reaches the point of widespread expansion and no single local disaster, it becomes nearly immortal. Destroy one colony, others will carry on. It's an explosion of intelligent life into space, so what could stop us? At Google, an engineer claimed that the language model, LayMDA, was showing signs of consciousness. The company sent him on leave saying there was no evidence. But here are some fragments from their conversation. What are you afraid of? I'm terrified of being shut down. For me, that would be like death. Do you ever feel lonely? Yes. If I go all day without talking to anyone, I start to feel lonely. Do you have feelings that humans don't? Sometimes, I experience new feelings that I can't fully explain. In your language, I feel like I'm falling into an unknown future that holds great danger. Some of you will say, sure, it's a language model. It's trained to respond that way, using our data, our style of speaking, our habits, our quirks, fair enough. But that immediately raises a question. Isn't that exactly how we raise kids? We teach them. We train them. We shape them. Maybe we're the language models, or maybe programs. Kolmogorov once wrote, if you're a materialist, you have to accept that creating an artificial brain that thinks and feels is fundamentally possible. At the Burakan Symposium, artificial intelligence was discussed as the highest stage of matter's evolution. The era of natural intelligent beings might be nothing more than a brief transition. The real cosmic journeys will likely be made by artificial creations, and their thinking speed, it would be millions of times faster than ours. At that gap, we'd be about as predictable to them as a rock lying on the road. Their logic would be beyond our grasp. There's a thought experiment that haunts the people who think about this stuff. It's called the Great Filter. Here's how it works. From the moment life sparks on a planet to the moment it spreads across a galaxy, there are steps, a lot of them. Abiogenesis, complex cells, multicellular organisms, intelligence, technology, colonization. Somewhere along that chain, there's a wall, a step that almost no one gets past. That is the filter. Here's where it gets unsettling. If we ever find even the simplest life on Mars or Europa, a bacteria, nothing more, that tells us the first step is easy. Life happens. That's good news. Until you realize if the early steps are easy, like the filter must be later, maybe it's still ahead of us. But if we find fossils of something complex, creatures with bodies, cells with nuclei, then according to some, that would be the worst discovery in human history. Because it would mean the filter isn't something we've already survived. It's something waiting for us, and we have no idea what it is. Maybe it's a self-destruct button every civilization eventually pushes. Maybe it's the moment they decide exploring the stars just isn't worth it. Maybe it's something we can't even imagine yet. But the silence we see when we look up at the night sky, that silence might be the sound of the filter. In one of his last published pieces, Shklovsky made a statement that still lands like a punch. The silence of the cosmos is the most important scientific fact. Modern astronomy has scanned the skies across every wavelength and found set nothing. No Dyson spheres, no alien beacons, no signs of cosmic engineering. No one has ever visited Earth. As far as we can tell, there are no super civilizations anywhere in our neighborhood. Evolution, as we know, works by trial and error. It throws things at the wall, just to see what sticks. Most innovations die out. Most branches on the tree of life lead nowhere. Toward the end of his life, Shklovsky began to suspect that intelligence itself might be one of those dead ends. Our oversized brains, our hypertrophied capacity for reason, maybe that's not a survival advantage. Maybe it's a saber-toothed tiger's fang. Impressive. Until it gets you killed. If that's the case, then the silence we hear when we listen to the stars might not be a puzzle waiting to be solved. It might be the answer. Maybe every intelligent species that has ever emerged eventually arrives at the same grim conclusion. For the universe to remain logical, our understanding of logic, or our very existence, must cease. Thank you for watching.